Hi, welcome back to our second segment. This evening I have with me Jim Devine and Ginger Longden. I got the name right. And, you know, a lot of times we talk about rescue, and the shelter, of course, the Animal Welfare League shelter is one of the biggest rescue operations in our Alexandria area. But tonight we're going to talk about a different kind of rescue. Jim, why don't you introduce the subject and tell us what this is all about, this transport?
Basically, we do animal transports on weekends to bring animals from shelters and rescue groups in South Carolina and down south up to shelters and rescue organizations up in the north, or delivering them to adoptive families that have found the animals on the website. And basically, what we have is a network of volunteers who, working with the organizations at both ends, coordinate getting them from the shelters up through different legs of transportation up to New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and
well, what's the central group that started this, and then how do they find you? How did you find them, and how do you network this thing?
Okay, we work with a group called Paws to the Rescue.
Paws to the Rescue, PAWS, I guess.
And basically, we found them through the internet.
Oh, you did?
Yes. The internet is what makes this possible. Internet and cell phones. This wouldn't be possible. The coordination effort wouldn't be possible without those tools.
So you and Amy were looking for, just happened upon them, or were you deliberately looking for another rescue or a kind of volunteer work that you
We were just looking for another type of volunteer work. We spend time at the shelter, and we're just looking for something else that we could do. And it's one of those things where you're taking dogs that are pretty much at the end of their rope where they are. The shelters, unfortunately, don't have the funding or the facilities that we have, for example, at our beautiful shelter here in Alexandria.
So they always come from a shelter is the one that always sends out the need for help. Is that correct?
Generally, yes.
Okay. And Ginger, your niece, is part of the team here. You and Amy and Ginger, I guess, are the team that go out on the weekends. Ginger, how did you get involved in? What kind of feelings, can you tell our audience on what kind of feedback you get from doing this?
I absolutely love it. Being in college, I'm not in a position to adopt an animal, and this is a way that I can still get out there and help them. So a lot of times these dogs are coming from kill shelters, so they're bringing them all the way up. I mean, it's just amazing to think how many people, get together. These dogs will go on with 7 different volunteers a day, and it generally takes a couple days to get them where they're going. But it's just an amazing way.
Do you use your own private vehicle? Is that part of the process?
Yes.
Yeah. And what was your first experience, you two? What was the first animal you rescued? And tell me about it.
The first one I went on with Amy, and we had this red-bone coonhound that was dying. He was straining he wasn't dying literally, he was straining at the tether to get in the front seat with us. So I wound up getting in the back, and this is a huge dog, and he laid in my lap like a puppy the entire ride.
Oh, they know.
It was wonderful. He was so sweet.
Really, that is so. And then you picked him up somewhere, and
we picked him up in Alexandria. They generally go for places that are away from big, heavily trafficked roads, and a lot of open parking and open grass for the dogs. They need to run around and all their trip. So they generally go for places like that, and we took them from here in Alexandria up to Baltimore.
Okay, and then did you take them up to the adoptive person up there, or did you deliver it to this organization and then they were going to handle that?
A lot of times Baltimore is the overnight stop, so it'll be people in Baltimore that have opened up their homes to the dogs as well.
Another experience that Amy shared, and you were telling us off camera too, Jim. Tell us about the one where you didn't transfer the dog, but you took a dog in overnight.
Oh, we had a wonderful puppy. His name was Alpine. He was a Great Pyrenees, just 45 pounds at 4 months old. So this is going to be a gigantic dog, and he was just such a pleasure and a wonderful house guest. We picked him up in Fredericksburg and drove him up, and we're planning on bringing him up to Baltimore the next day.
Oh, so you did transport him
we did
as well.
transport him as well,
You picked
yes.
him up and kept him overnight and then delivered him?
Yes, the next day we drove up to Baltimore and dropped him off to the next leg. His name was Alpine. He was just wonderful, a big polar bear of a dog. And it really is gratifying when you get to spend some real time with the dogs. We had to keep him segregated from our dogs, but he was just fantastic. And we actually had a very nice experience with his adoptive family. We sent them a little note in his paperwork, and they've sent us emails, and we're being kept informed of how Alpine is doing. So that really does it does make you feel very, very useful and worthwhile when you're doing it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I really want. I mean, when Amy was telling me some of these stories, they're so heartwarming, and there's so many different ways for people to volunteer. And so someone who doesn't want to go to the shelter and walk animals, or someone who doesn't have room to adopt anymore, like you, I mean, they've already rescued Tina from a puppy mill and Finbar, not from a puppy mill, from our shelter. One of our puppies, and then you have a rescue dog from Middleburg, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
So I mean, the Devine family is definitely an advocate for adoption, but here you've added to that by transporting. So there's a website for people who want to learn more about this.
Yes, there's actually a book out, and it's called 15 Legs, and what they're referring to is
The animals.
The individual lengths that people drive are considered a leg.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And a typical trip will be seven legs each day to get them up. You only have to drive about an hour. That's the nice part. So it's an hour and then drive back. So, you know, it's a 2-hour time commitment. You're dealing with wonderful people on both ends. So you'll meet someone who drove from Fredericksburg to Alexandria. You'll drive from Alexandria to just outside of Baltimore and hook up with the overnight crew, and they'll bring them the next day up to somewhere in Delaware, perhaps, where they'll continue on.
So what's the kind of commitment do you have to make to be part of this org? You know, because a lot of places you have to commit to so many hours a month. How do they arrange this? Are you committed to doing this every weekend, or is it on an ad hoc basis?
It's very much coordinated ad hoc. They're looking for people. They say, we're going to do a rescue this weekend. We're driving X number of dogs, and we need X number of people. You email in. You let them know that you're available and you'd like to do it. You let them know what type of role you'd like to play. Whether, you know, we have gone to Fredericksburg and picked up dogs and brought them to Alexandria, as well as waited in Alexandria to take them to Baltimore, and of course overnighting dogs like we did with Aspen.
So a lot of times it doesn't take up the whole weekend, only if you choose to overnight them. Sometimes it's just you go pick up the dog and deliver it, right?
Right.
So it's 2 or 3 or 4 hours, half a day.
2 or 3 hours, and you know, and it's nice. Amy, Ginger, and I will drive up to Baltimore, and then we'll go out to dinner afterwards. And
Team Rescue will be
absolutely
celebrating, lifting a few. Well, I know that this is something that you've really enjoyed. What other stories can you share with us? Or are there any things that we're forgetting here, Jim? I'm going to have to look at my cheat sheet because I don't want to shortchange this subject. It talks about special training, and I think we've talked about the fact that anyone can do this who can drive a car and read directions and probably needs some help. I mean, you probably need at least 2 people, right?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily?
There's plenty of people that do it on their own.
Really?
Yeah.
There's one woman that has a huge van, and she probably brings at least 10 dogs.
Sure.
Okay,
By
well, that's
herself
good
from
to know.
Fredericksburg. She's wonderful.
So
She's great.
okay, that's good to know. So it just depends what kind of vehicle you have. And so 2 guys were really excellent, and you 2, kudos for me for just doing such really exciting work, and to Amy back there. And thanks to you for joining us tonight. And come on, be a transporter here. It'll be good for all of us. Good evening.